Memory of Scunthorpe.
Welcome to something a little bit different. Today I'm in Scunthorpe. It's the town where I was born in 1954. And I'm taking you on a memory walk with me from the 1950s and 60s that shaped my childhood. Before I set off, have a look at this little introduction I put together. I brought some of my old photos from the 1950s and 60s back to life using AI. If ever there was a good use for modern technology, it's this, breathing life back into the past.
Welcome to my childhood memories. I live here at Davy Avenue.
Whoa! Any old iron!
I'm ready for my picture now. I like eating dirt. It's yummy. I love paper folding.
Rag and bone. Any old rags?
This church was a big part of my early years. I can't say I was a fan of Sunday school, but I loved going to the church hall for a group called the Pilots. We played games, made friends, and every now and then I'd find myself on stage singing I'm a Little Teapot and Row, Row the Boat, complete with all the actions. It's hard to believe that was so many years ago. I'm standing on Doncaster Road, and just across the road is Pavilion Way, named after the old Pavilion cinema that once stood there.
This is the Pavilion Cinema.
I went to the cinema until I was about 8 years old before it closed in 1962 and was demolished the following year. It's strange how a place can disappear, yet the memories stay so vivid. Opposite the pavilion on this car park now stood the ABC Cinema, home of the famous Saturday morning matinee. It cost just sixpence to get in. We were proud members of the ABC Miners Club, complete with our own badge. Before the film started, the organs would rise up from the pit playing the ABC song, and the whole cinema would erupt in singing. You didn't need to know the words. The lyrics were on the screen, with a little ball bouncing from word to word in time with the music. During the interval, any child with a birthday that week was invited on stage. They would be given an ABC Miners badge and a free ticket for the following Saturday. and the whole place would sing happy birthday.
Carry on, Constable. This is going to be great.
As I walk up Doncaster Road, let's listen to the ABC song which they used to belt out every Saturday morning. After 55 years, I can still remember all the words of this song. This used to be the swimming bath when I was a kid. The extension on the end was added a few years ago when I was out of Scunthorpe. It used to be the Yag House when I went in the 1960s and was our local youth club to go to. If I remember right, it was about sixpence to get in. Anyway, I'll continue up Doncaster Road to my next location. This is the Royal Hotel where I had my first pint of mild in 1972 at the age of 18. It cost 1.11, that's about 10p today, for a pint. And you could get 5 pints for £1 then. That first night I went for a pint, the electricity went out. It was the start of the power cuts that year because of the coal miners' strike. I remember those blackouts well. Here's a bit of film from that time showing the blackout, though you can't see much as the lights were out. But seriously, the first evening it happened, I was sitting in the Royal Hotel when suddenly the whole place was plunged into darkness. At home we spent most evenings by candlelight, playing cards or board games. Sometimes the blackouts lasted 6 hours or more, and on occasions they went off all night until the following morning. The miners' strike lasted 7 weeks, and the newspapers started to print the times the electricity would be cut. At the Royal we drank our pints by candlelight, with gas lamps glowing on the bar. It was a strange time, but we coped, and looking back now, there was something almost magical about it. On the corner of Doncaster Road and Henson Avenue we have the Sainsbury's, but this used to be the site of the old showground, home of Scunthorpe United. There were some huge floodlights in there, and people used to go and climb up there for hide and seek, me included. In the 60s we used to sit on that wall and watch the football fans fighting and arguing.
Hooray! Hooray! That was awesome!
Where Sainsbury's stands today on Henson Avenue was once the old showground, the home of Scunthorpe United. It was demolished in 1988 to make way for the store, but my memories of this place have nothing to do with football. I was never much of a fan of the game. Instead I remember it because I was in the St John's Ambulance Brigade as a teenager. While the crowds watched the match, I'd be sitting in the ambulance or running around the grounds in my uniform. I would keep an eye out for anybody who needed help. Over the years I treated a fair few people with minor ailments, but nothing very dramatic. This shop was once the post office and newsagent of my childhood. I started an early morning paper around here when I was just 13, that was back in 1967. I earned 17 and sixpence a week, that's about 75p today, but at that time it felt like a fortune. Every Friday evening I would head out on my round collecting the paper money from the customers. For a 13-year-old, the tips felt like a small fortune. Then on Saturday mornings I would wander back to the shop to get paid and help bag up potatoes for a bit of extra pocket money. They were simple little jobs, but they gave me my first taste of independence. I delivered papers all around the Crosby area, leaping over gates and fences to get my round finished quicker. I even found a 10-shilling note one day and thought I was rich. I'm on Vicarage Gardens and I used to deliver newspapers along this very street. What really sticks in my mind are the Christmases of the 1960s. Me and a friend would go carol singing, and there was always a couple of houses that had big parties. They would invite us inside to sing for the guests, and afterwards we would be handed a mince pie and they would have a whip round for us.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
With the money we made one year, we would sneak off to Cleethorpes for a few hours on the steam train, never telling our parents, of course. We made sure we got back before tea time, and as far as I know, they never found out about our little adventure. I'm now heading down Jackson's Road. I had friends who lived along here and, like me, were mad about train spotting back when steam trains still thundered through Scunthorpe. We spent hours next to the station with our notebooks, waiting for something special to appear. I'll never forget the day the Flying Scotsman came through in the mid-1960s. It stopped at the steam sheds on Dawes Lane, and to our amazement we were invited up onto the footplate. We stood there watching the firemen stoke the boiler, the heat on our faces, the smell of coal and steam filling the air. For a young lad it felt like stepping into another world. I stopped train spotting when the diesels arrived. They just didn't have the same magic. Steam had a soul to it, something you felt as much as you heard. This is where our local shop used to be. It was owned by Lockwood's at one time. Then June Jones took over until she retired in 2019. It was one of those proper neighbourhood shops where everybody knew everybody. And just here, there used to be a chocolate machine, and for sixpence you could get a decent sized bar of chocolate. None of this tiny portion business you get today. And next to it was a cigarette machine. For 2 shillings, that's about 10p now, you could get a pack of 10 of number 6. You could even buy single cigarettes inside the shop for 2p each. And don't tell anybody, but every now and then, while I was out delivering my newspapers, I'd sneak a pack of 10 from the machine and smoke them in secret. A little act of teenage rebellion, I suppose. Best keep that between us.
This was our local shop, Lockwood's.
This is Davy Avenue, and I haven't set foot here in almost 40 years. Hard to believe, really. This is the street I was born and where I grew up. This is where so many of my earliest memories were made. In that corner house, I dated my first girlfriend, Gillian, back in the early 60s. And what used to be the chip shop next to that shop, I went with a girl called Judith. Her dad worked to the fryer, and every now and then he would slip me a free bag of chips. And down the bottom of Davy Avenue lived Susan, who I went out with. She was in my class at Foxhall School. Funny how one little street can hold so many chapters of your life. Let's step back into a 1960s Davy Avenue, when the streets were our playground. Who remembers playing hide and seek and squeezing into neighbours' yards, convinced we were invisible? We made stilts, Sanko carts out of any bits of wood we could find. and everybody played conkers. My knuckles were bruised at times.
Come on, let's race to the end
I
of the
loved
street.
biking too. I built them from whatever parts I could get from scrap yards. Oh, and hula hoops. Well, I tried, but I was hopeless. And of course there was hopscotch. And a bit of rough and tumble, never did us any harm. And marbles. Used to go home with pocketfuls some days. And when the daylight faded and the street lamps flickered on, that was our signal. Kids would drift home for tea, tired, muddy and happy. It was a different world, but a lovely one to remember. I was born in this house in the front room in 1954. Hard to imagine now, but this little 3-bedroomed house once held 13 of us. Over the years, the numbers slowly went down as brothers and sisters left home, but in those early days it was a full house. I can remember the day I broke my collarbone, even though I was only about 4 years old. In my mind I was Superman, unstoppable, fearless, and I launched myself off the table with a makeshift cape fluttering behind me. Reality arrived quickly when I hit the floor, and before long I was on my way to the hospital. My superhero days were on hold for a short time after that. My parents slept in the downstairs front room there, and the rest of us squeezed into 3 bedrooms upstairs. It was a cold house too. There was no central heating back then, just a coal fire in the back room. When people talk about waking up to a thick layer of ice on the inside of their windows, they're not exaggerating. It really happened. The winter of 1963 was a brutal one. Snowdrifts were so deep we had to dig our way out from the front door just to reach the street. The snowplows cleared the roads, but the piles they left behind towered above my head. The paths that had been cleared quickly turned into sheets of black ice. As kids we found it hilarious. Outside the school, people were slipping and sliding everywhere, and we didn't help matters by making long, polished ice slides of our own. It was bitterly cold, but to us it was an adventure, one of those childhood winters that never quite leaves you. And you know something, we still had to go to school. This old range is almost the same to the one we had back in Davy Avenue. To get hot water you had to light the fire first. The tank sat behind the range, so the whole room slowly filled with the warmth, with a familiar glow. My mum used to bake bread in the little side oven, and to this day I swear it was the best bread I've ever tasted. I'd hover nearby, waiting for the moment it came out piping hot. I'd slice off a piece, spread butter on it, and watch it melt through into the bread. Absolute heaven. Our old range was taken out around 1963, I believe, but the memory of it, its warmth, its smell, and those simple moments have stayed with me ever since. My dad was a keen photographer, and when I was about 13, he taught me how to develop and print photographs in our bathroom. We would turn off the lights, seal the door with a towel. The whole room would glow red from the safe light. He even built his own enlarger out of a wooden box, fitting a lens into it so we could make proper prints. It felt like magic watching the image slowly appear on a blank sheet of paper on the developing tray. I carried on photography at school and learned a lot from the lessons. The photo you see below is one I printed myself in 1968, and here I am 57 years later, still a photographer. Like most beginners in the 1960s, I started with a box brownie that took one 20-roll film. I used to get up to so much in the 1960s, like catching frogs and catching small fish and put them in a jam jar to take home. Matchbox cars, but this one's a bit bigger than that. And we all played cowboys and Indians. Oh, and Airfix model planes, used to make quite a few of them. An Action Man that came out in 1966. And we would eat fish and chips on the street. And bars of chocolate from the machine at our local shop on the cost expense. Oh, and ice cream when he came round. And who remembers blowing bubbles by putting soap in their mouth? God, that was horrible. And not forgetting, of course, my camera. Life was very different then. No internet, no mobile phones, no computers, and not much TV either. The TV didn't even start broadcasting until 4 in the afternoon, and it closed down again at 10. There were school programmes during the day, which I remember watching at Henderson Avenue School. In the early 1960s, we only had 2 channels to choose from, but somehow it was enough. We made our own entertainment, and maybe that's why memories from these days feel so vivid.
Watch this magic.
As a kid, I was obsessed with magic. I joined the David Niven Magic Circle and built up a proud little collection of tricks.
Abracadabra.
I put on shows at our local OAP home, the Hollies, and at school too.
Whoa! Watch this.
I even built my own sewing a person in a half box. A friend of mine bravely became the victim, the volunteer. To our amazement, the trick worked.
Ta-da!
And now on Broughton Avenue, and at the bottom stood Henderson Avenue School. I started there in 1958 at the age of 4. My first horrible day still vivid. I didn't want to go to school, and I tried to run straight out the classroom. The teacher locked the door and shouted at me.
No!
From that moment until the day I left school at 15 in 1969, school life never felt like a place I belonged. The old school has now been demolished and been replaced by a new building, probably for the best. In the 1960s it was in a sorry state, poor heating when it worked at all, outside toilets with no roof, and classrooms so cold and drafty in winter that we often kept our coats on all day. I'm on Henderson Avenue Circle. There used to be a huge oak tree just over there. Its trunk was hollowed out, and if the rain came down you could shelter inside it. I climbed that tree more times than I can count. This circle was where we played, me and other kids from the area, running, laughing, inventing games that filled whole days. People often talk about the past as the good old days, but were they? I think we sometimes look back through rose-coloured glasses. Life certainly felt easier as a child. No responsibilities, no worries, just long days that seemed to stretch forever. Things were simpler, slower, more carefree, and we never seemed to get bored. But life was tougher too. We were very poor by today's standards. The houses were cold, money was scarce, and most of the clothes I wore were hand-me-downs from my 3 older brothers or brought from jumble sales. Schools were harsher too, with punishments like the cane or slipper or a ruler across your hand for the smallest things. So perhaps 50-50, some good, some bad. A mixture of hardship and happiness woven together into the memories that stay with you for a lifetime. I've now reached Sheffield Park. Well, it used to be. Now a police station. It's a place where I spent so many hours of my childhood, and it's changed beyond recognition. So much of what once stood here has vanished or been built over. There's still some of it left, but I don't recognise it. Not what it used to be like. The high slides, the iron horse and the old climbing frame, all gone. Back in the 60s, if you fell from any of them, and we often did, there was no soft landing waiting for you, just concrete. The cuts, the bruises, the scraped knees, I had more than my fair share, but somehow it was part of the fun. That was childhood then, rough around the edges, but full of freedom. Even the bowling greens have disappeared. It's got now a skate park on it. So different. Well, I suppose that's what you call progress. And this used to be the tennis courts. Here's a short video my dad took in 1967 of Sheffield Park, where it's from old Super 8 film. When you see it, you'll understand just how much this place has changed.
It's been too long. Won't you come back to me? If I did you wrong, I'll make it right, you'll see. Back to my arms, I would give anything if you would give your love to me. All of this time, I wandered so aimlessly, but when you were mine, that's how it ought to be. So won't you come back? I would give anything if you would give your love to me. Travel far and wide, but never did I find you. All that's left inside is a burn in my heart, and tears I haven't cried. I'll do you right. I would give anything if you would give your love to me. Travel far and wide, but never did I find you. All that's left inside is a burn in my heart, and tears I have.
It's like looking into another world, one that feels both distant and strangely close, held together by memories. Just over to the left is the senior school I went to, called Foxhall Secondary Modern then. The fence along here was always broken and we would squeeze through it every morning, taking the unofficial shortcut. Of course, if a teacher caught you, that was it, you was in trouble. Not much more to say about the school itself. I hated going, and that's probably enough said. Now New York had Broadway and Scunthorpe has the world famous Frodingham Road, a cultural melting pot and a sort on every sense in the best possible way. If you haven't got 80 days to go around the world, don't worry, come to Frodingham Road. You can do it all in 80 yards. Here you'll find the world's riches lined up side by side. Polish bread still warm from the oven. Indian spices drifting out onto the pavement. Proper English fish and chips, Turkish barbers, take your pick, there's quite a few. So forget your passports, forget Butlins, just come to Frodingham Road. Alright, bit tongue in cheek, but you get the idea. Before I leave Frodingham Road, who remembers the Bennett store that used to be on this site? It caught fire in 1970 and it devastated the building. I remember watching the firemen at work on it. Where I'm now standing used to be the old bus station. It opened in 1929 by Enterprise and Silver Dome with the old Bluebell Hotel to the left. This was the site of the old Bluebell and I used to sell papers outside here, just right next to a police box. The buses used to rumble right up the precinct back when it was still a main road through Scunthorpe. I would often catch the 224 or 336 bus to Ashby to visit my grandparents. The fare was only threepence back then, and on platform 1 I remember there was a machine that would stamp your name onto a strip of metal for a penny, and there was also a machine where you could buy milk from. Tiny memories, but magical when you're a kid. The bus station was demolished in 1968 and the precinct rose up in its place. But if I stand here long enough, I can almost hear the engines, the footsteps and the voices of a town that's changed 100 times over, yet sometimes still feels the same. Let's take a wander up the precinct and watch the years peel back. The video you're about to see is a collection of old postcards, little windows into a bygone Scunthorpe. I'm walking up the high street in Scunthorpe, remembering how it felt in the 1960s, lined with thriving shops, full of bustle, chatter and everyday life. It's hard not to feel a pang, knowing how much of that energy has now faded. In those early 60s, I marched proudly through the town on Remembrance Sundays, first in my St John's Ambulance Brigade uniform and later as a Cub Scout. I remember those parades with real fondness. One weekend, I even served as a Royal Guard for Princess Anne when she visited our St John's headquarters, a moment that still fills me with pride. Here's another short reel I made showing Scunthorpe in the 1960s, and again using AI to bring them back to life.
Welcome to 1960's Scunthorpe.
Maybe it wasn't meant to be, just like in a dream. Maybe I'm starting to feel what true love can be. She is out of reach for someone like me. Baby, you keep pushing me, yeah, yeah, yeah. Stop putting things in my head. Baby, 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 stop tempting me. Is it a dream? Only time will tell. Maybe she's fooling us all to get what she wants. She's just playing games. Maybe that's what I want. She is out of reach for someone like me. Baby, you keep pushing me, yeah, yeah, yeah. Stop putting things in my head. Baby, 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 stop tempting me. Is it a dream? Only time will tell. I saw her take a glance at me.
Talking about the parades, I still have the old Super 8 cine film my dad took off these parades up the high street. It's never been transferred to DVD. The reel is so fragile now that I doubt it would survive a run through a projector without snapping or crumbling. It needs the hands of somebody skilled, somebody who understands how to coax these memories safely into the present and onto DVD. Well, I'm taking a rest in Church Square in Scunthorpe. I thought I'll reminisce a bit. When I left school in 1969 at the age of 15, my first job was on the steelworks as an assistant recorder. My days were spent writing down the measurements the rolling mill needed to turn the great slabs of steel into plates. I even worked on one of the very first computers they had back then, an enormous machine that filled an entire room. Hard to believe a laptop today could do the same job without breaking in a sweat. I never really took to the steelworks, and by the time I was 18 I had moved on. My first pay packet in 1969 was just £5 10 shillings for a 40-hour week. I soon realised I could earn more doing land work, and for a couple of years that's exactly what I did. Jumping ahead to 1972 for a moment, I found myself back living on Davy Avenue for a couple of years after leaving home. There was a lady, Mrs Brown, who had a lorry arrive every morning at 7 to take workers out to the farms. One of them was Colin Johnson's farm near Scunthorpe. I would climb onto the back of the lorry with others from the street and spend the day pea pulling, potato pulling, bean pulling and strawberry picking. Hard work but good wages, depending on how much you picked, of course. It certainly changed. This used to be the Scunthorpe Market, now called Elizabeth Quarters. I'm standing outside Scunthorpe Museum. Now you're probably wondering what's this got to do with my life in the 60s? Well, I used to work here from the age of 13 to 15. That's 1967 to 1969. And I've got a couple of funny stories to tell. This building holds a little pocket of time. I used to help out in weekends. I'm not going to take you on a full tour of the museum today, just to share a few funny moments that stayed with me all these years. So let's go and step inside. This is the old ironstone workers' cottage. Once standing in Church Street, it was carefully dismantled and rebuilt here brick by brick in early 1966. Even back then, I remember being amazed at the idea of a whole house being taken apart and put back together like a giant jigsaw puzzle. One weekend in 1967, curiosity got the better of me. I asked if I could stay inside the cottage after closing time for an hour or two. People used to whisper that it was haunted by its former owner, and at 13 I was absolutely determined to see a ghost for myself. So there I was, alone in this little cottage, the museum silent around me. I waited and waited. The only thing that appeared were the creaks and sighs of an old building settling for the night. After an hour of staring into the shadows, I ended up nodding off in a chair. No ghost, just me, fast asleep. I remember feeling a bit disappointed at the time, but looking back now, it's one of them memories that makes me smile. And here's another memory, the Anderson shelter from the Second World War. My granddad had one in his backyard, though by the time when I came along it wasn't for air raids anymore. It was his makeshift shed, crammed with gardening tools and the smell of damp earth. It's moments like this that make me feel a bit older now, but in a warm, comforting way, like looking back at a time that shaped us without us even realising it. Coming into one of the parks that I used to go to called Central Park, changed so much. Didn't used to have this here. I used to love Central Park. I would often climb up that fountain when it was working and just get wet. I wonder if they have it running now. What a brilliant idea, Baby Rainbow Memorial Gardens. Remember of all the babies that have died. And the rainbow path to the memorial. What a wonderful thing to have a memorial garden for the children. It still has the park over there, just minus the paddling pool they used to have now. The only thing I can see that's been lost is the greenhouse and the bird aviary that used to be over there. But the park is vastly improved. So just leaving Central Park now. That building in the background used to be the council offices. I see it's now a university. Very different. And as I leave the park, we're back at the pods. You see why they call it that, can't you? Great reflection in the water though. Walking through the gardens, I think they call it King's Gardens on Ashby Road. Takes me back into town. And you can tell it's spring. All that blossom there. Scunthorpe High Street had once been the proud spine of the town, a place where Saturday mornings buzzed with chatter, prams and the clatter of shops' shutters rolling open. Now it feels like a corridor of memories. Now shops stand boarded up, their faded signs hanging at tired angles, as if the lettering had given up. The once thriving shops now sealed behind sheets of plywood, and the painted words on windows barely visible beneath peeling layers of paint. Walking down the pavements, you can almost hear the echo of what it used to be, the ring of a chemist's doorbell, the hum of a hairdresser's dryer, the laughter spilling out of the cafe on the corner. But the echoes are all that remains, weeds pushing through cracks in the paving stones, and the once bright shop fronts have dulled into uniform grey, as if the street has been drained of colour. Posters from long past community events cling to windows like ghosts of better times. A few businesses still cling on, a charity shop with mismatched dummies in the windows, a store with flickering lights. The footfall has vanished, the energy has seeped away, and the high street now feels like a place paused between what it had been and what it might never be again. It's a reminder of how quickly a town can lose its heartbeat and how long it takes to bring one back. It's now time for an AI blooper reel.
I'm off to find my own adventure.